welcome back to Morgan's Beauty Corner. Today, do I have a story time for y'all? Today, I'm gonna be telling y'all about my client from Hades. Stay tuned. So before I jump into this video, I do want to say first that stay tuned to the very end, because to support other smaller channels like myself, I'm going to be doing a shout out to a channel that has been doing lots of shout outs, and I just love her channel and I love her vibe and her energy. So stay tuned to the end. I am going to be shouting out a smaller channel in all of my videos from now on. So please stay tuned to listen for that. And also, if you miss it, it will be down in the description box down below. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hop right into the story. So again, this story time, I'm not going to give it an exact time frame. We'll say within the past 7 years. During this time, I was at kind of a low point in my life. And for those of you who know me, you know. If you don't, I have a video coming as to why I was in such a low point in my life. But that's not what this video is about. This video is about my client from the pits of hell. So this particular client I met on Instagram, where I meet most of the clients that I do. And at the time, I was not posting like makeup at all. Just like people who knew me knew that I did makeup, and if they wanted their makeup done for something, they would hit me up. It was like random. It wasn't like I was, you know, putting it all out there like I do now. This was back in the day, too far back in the day. But anyways, so this girl messaged me and she said, hey, she said, I just got engaged. I am wanting my makeup done for my engagement pictures, and then depending on how that goes, I want you to also do my wedding. And I was like, cool. I was really excited. Like I said, back then I really wasn't taking clients like I do now. And I wasn't about makeup like I am now. I mean, I've always loved makeup, but I haven't like posted about it on social media. So I was super excited. I was letting all of my friends know, like, hey, I've got this gig. I was also like letting my work know, like, hey, I'm gonna need off of this day, and if it goes well, I'm also gonna be doing her wedding, so I'll need off, you know, for that as well. And so everything's going great. And when it comes to her engagement pictures, it goes smooth. So turns out another friend of mine that I actually went to school with was doing the pictures. So I didn't actually get to see her. I did the makeup and then just left. But I found out later that a friend of mine that I went to high school with was actually the one who did the pictures, so it was really cool. But anyways, maybe a week goes by or whatever, and she's like, hey, can I tag you in my engagement pictures? And I was like, yeah, of course. And so she tagged me, and so maybe a week or two goes by, and she messages me again, and she said, hey, she said, I love the makeup that you did on my engagement pictures. I've gotten a lot of compliments. I would really, really like it if you did my wedding. So at this time, I was still very much new in the makeup game, and that is why I'm sharing this video, because for any of my upcoming artists or people just now getting into the game, it is so important that you take a few of my recommendations here. Number one, I didn't ask. She told me that I would be doing bridesmaids. She said she was going to have 2 bridesmaids, which is very small. And so I was like, cool, I can definitely handle that. She said that I could be there at 11 and that she was going to get married at 6. And I was like, okay, cool, like that'll leave plenty of time. And she also wanted me to stay the whole time, of course. You know, that typically happens for touch-ups and what have you. They typically like you to stay and like touch up their makeup, touch up whatever. And so then maybe another week goes by, she messages me and says, hey, you're going to be doing my mom's makeup and also his mom's makeup. So now we have 2 bridesmaids, the bride, and 2 moms. So now we're up to 5. So anyways, I'm like, okay, you know, I think I can still do this. Well, time goes by, we are keeping in contact, because she's letting me know that, you know, the looks that she wants to do. Also at this time, I didn't really consider like doing a basically rehearsal for what she wanted. I do not take appointments, or I do not take anything anymore if you are not cool with doing what I call a rehearsal. So basically, we're going to rehearse out what your look's going to be on the day. I mean, for a wedding, I definitely want to make sure that you're getting what you're wanting. And also, you know, if I can maybe make any suggestions that maybe on your wedding day you're too stressed out to accept or whatever, I just would rather have a rehearsal. So that is going to be mistake number 2. So mind you, we've got probably 3 to 4 months until the wedding at this point. And she messages me and she texts me and she's like, hey, I really, really want for you to do my grandmother's makeup as well. Now, here's where I kind of got smart, and I said, okay, well, if you want all of these faces to be done, and what she wanted was not basic for the bridesmaids. I need to put that in here now. It was not basic. She wanted cut creases on herself, the bridesmaids. Her mother also wanted a cut crease. That just takes time, and for me, I want to take at least 2 hours on a bride. I just want them to look perfect. I want them to be happy with what they look like on their day. And you also have to remember that this is at the beginning of my makeup career. So I wasn't as fast as I can now. I can knock a bridesmaid out in 30 minutes now. At that time, it took me longer. I was new. And this is all my fault up to this point, okay? I'm clearly taking accountability for what is my fault in this, but I'm also going to let know what this 35-plus-year-old lady should have taken accountability for as well at the end, but we'll get there. So things just keep piling up. She keeps, you know, changing things. She first told me that she did not want to contour, and I let her know that with like just bronze, she just wanted bronzer. And I said, well, that's not, you know, just to let you know, that's not going to photograph as well. And she said, I don't care, I want bronzer. Well, she kept like changing things like that. She didn't want lashes, and then she wanted lashes. And at the time, I didn't have a cutoff day either. So now I have a cutoff day unless it has to do with the bride. All bridesmaids, mother of the brides, flower girls, whatever, they have a cutoff time to where their look is locked in. That is the look, that is what it's going to be. Now the bride I don't do that with, just because there's a lot involved with the bride. There's stress, there's other people's opinions, you know, what have you. It's going to go back and forth, back and forth. So I never do that for the bride, but I do that now with bridesmaids and what have you. But everything just kept changing. I want lip gloss and I don't want lip gloss. I want to do a shimmery eye, I don't want to do a shimmery eye. But one thing that she never mentioned to change was the cut crease. She never mentioned to change in that. And so I just put it out there because a friend of mine who's also in makeup, thank God for him. Thank God for boys in makeup, because he saved my hind end. So I'm talking to him one day, and I actually worked with him outside of this anyways. And so he told me, he said, Morgan, he said, you're going to need somebody. He was like, you're just now, you know, really starting out. I'd only done like 2 people before this and never done a wedding. This was my first wedding. He was like, you know, do you have a call sheet? And I was like, a what? Isn't that like for acting? He said, no, baby girl. He was like, no. He said, that just puts everybody in order. He's like, nobody ever wants to go first. They will literally argue in there, and that's just going to put extra pressure on the bride. And so he's giving me all these pointers, and like, I'm starting to stress out because I'm realizing like, shit, I have done literally none of this. I have done nothing that he is telling me to do. And I've gotten permission to say his name, so shout out to John. So John is like, baby, you've got to figure it out. You have got to figure it out. And so he's like, you know what? He was like, just because I love you, he was like, I'll come with you and I'll help you for free. And I was like, oh, absolutely not. I will give you some of my money. He says he'll come with me, so I messaged the bride. And I'm like, hi, we'll call her Kristen. I'm like, hi, Kristen, this is Morgan. And I was just letting you know, since everything just keeps getting added on, she also added on her future husband's sister as well. So that's important. let's see, what else? She added somebody else, and for some reason, I can't remember. It doesn't matter, but it was like a junior bridesmaid. That's what it was. So she added a junior bridesmaid as well, who was part of her future husband's family. So everything just kept getting added on, and that's when I finally talked to John, and he offered help. So I messaged her, and I'm like, hey, Kristen, it's Morgan. If you could just call me when you get the chance. There's something that I just want to kind of run by you. Not any time, don't panic, because it's nothing like that. I just wanted to run something by you. And so I call her, and or she calls me later that night, and she says, hey Morgan, what's going on? And I said, I've just been kind of like, running everything up in my head about how many people, I've got 11 until 4:30 to do all of, I never mentioned that in the beginning. So by 4:30, everything had to be done, because we were going to be getting ready at her parents' house, and then we were going to be picked up in a limo and drove to, I'll just say Gatlinburg, okay? And if you're familiar where I am, fine. I live in East Tennessee, and from where I live, it's every bit, and this is during the summer, so it is balls to the wall up there. It's tourist nation. You need at least an hour 15 to get to where you're going, okay? If not more time. Anyways, so we had to be done by 4:30 because they wanted enough time to get to the place and to also have enough time to take pictures with the bridesmaids. And then they were doing a peekaboo where the bride and the groom come out, and it's the first look, peekaboo, whatever, where they come out and they see each other for the first time. So anyways, I was like, okay, Kristen, I've just been thinking about it and kind of adding up time in my head, and all the additional add-ons that we've done. I really have been thinking about it, and I have a makeup artist who is a friend of mine, and he has offered to help me. She's like, oh, absolutely. And so at this time, I knew that if I got someone to help me, like especially off Instagram, that the bride would have to pay for that person, okay? And if there was a difference in their hourly and mine, they would need to pay the difference. Now, at the time, John charged way more than me. He is, still to this day, he's a genius. I was like, so she was like, yeah, cool, whatever. And she was like, so what does he charge? And because he offered to do it for free, I was just going to give him half of what I was making off the wedding. So I told her, I said, and this was my mistake, I should have let him make his own money. This was my mistake also, just being new and stupid. I said, oh, I'm going to pay him out of my salary. And she was like, oh, okay, well, I'll just make sure to tip. I'll make sure to tip her. And I was like, at the time I was just thinking, oh, well, she said her on accident. Like, she didn't mean to say her. Gosh. So fast forward, time goes by, and at this point, we are at the week of the wedding. So they were getting married at the end of the week, as most weddings are. And so John was like, hey, since we have to be at her house so early, do you want to just like ride together or whatever? And I was like, sure, of course. Now, it's important for me to say here, it's not important for me to say because it doesn't matter, but John is gay. And that should never be something that needs to be mentioned, but because of this sick person that I'm going to be talking about, I have to mention it right now. And I hate that I even have to do that, but John, I love you. I know you're watching this. You are everything, and you are. So anyways, so we have a little slumber party. We drink some wine. We hang out. It's so much fun. And so the next morning, we ride together to Kristen's parents' house. And the neighborhood that they live in is very nice. Anybody around here, if you're from my hometown, okay, if you're from where I live, think of the nicest neighborhood here within, 7 miles from me. That's the neighborhood, okay? So I live in this neighborhood, nothing wrong with that. Like, who cares, right? He's getting everything out, and I go on in and I greet myself, and I said, John is out there, you know, getting everything. And so the bride greeted me at the door, and she's like, John? Who's John? You know, I didn't say that you could bring a boyfriend. And I was like, no. I was like, it's the makeup artist who's here to assist me. You guys, this girl bust out laughing. Literally laughing in my face. And I'm like, did I miss the joke? Like, what's so funny, girl? And so I'm like, because what do you do in that situation? I'm like, and so John starts walking up. They had like a long sidewalk from their driveway that came up to the front door. John walking up behind me. Again, she has not let us in the door. At this point, I'm still standing like on the concrete pad in front of the door. And so she sees John, and this is her exact expression. Literally. And I'm looking right at her, like I'm staring at her, and I'm like, Kristen, is there an issue? And she's like, I just don't want to talk about it. And so I already know there's an issue. So John goes and sets up, and her bridesmaids are like, hi, you know, introducing themselves. Nobody else has a problem except Kristen, the bride, which you never want. When you're the makeup artist, you never want to already get off on this sort of foot. You know what I'm saying? But like, if we have two different views on the world, it's not going to work out. And this is what a rehearsal, like pre-wedding, pre-game, like figure out what we're going to do. This is what that prevents. And I know that now. At the time, I didn't know that. And so that would have prevented all of this. So I pull Kristen aside, and I'm like, hey, this is your day. You know, if you're not happy with something, just let me know, and I'll do what I can to fix it. And she was like, is he gay? And I said, well, it's not my place to give that information. I said, but he is a brilliant makeup artist, and I mean, in my opinion, way better than myself. And she said, oh, no, that's not what I'm asking. I'm asking, is he gay? And this is exactly how she's talking to me, like for real. And so at this point, I know now that it has nothing to do with wedding day jitters. It's not, this is her view on the world, my friend. This is her outlook on things. And so it's definitely not mine, okay? Not mine. And so we're colliding at this point, because if you know me, then you know. Try me once, okay. Try me twice, I'm getting irritated. Try me 3 times, and what's up, Kristen? Huh? I'm playing it professional, okay? Still to this point, I'm like, okay, and so I finally just say, because it's clear as day, I'm like, okay, are you uncomfortable with that? If he is. And she said, 100%. And so here I am, and I'm like thinking, oh, I'm just going to bite the bullet. I'm not going to get my money because I'm leaving with it. There's no way I am telling one of my friends up here, okay, someone that I look up to in the makeup world, like out of all the people I look up to online or whatever, like John is brilliant, okay? And what his sexuality is makes no freaking difference. It doesn't change anything. So I'm like, okay, well, if it is this deep of an issue, then I'm going to go as well, because he is my friend and he is amazing at what he does. And if he's not welcome here, then I'm not either. So at this point, her mother is walking into the room, and I'm kind of standing there stunned that I've just said this to a bride. But she kept going on and like saying things that are disgusting, and I'm not going to repeat on the internet because it's disgusting. And if ever there is somebody who is young or impressionable and watches my channel, I never want them to think that this shit is okay, because it's not. It's disgusting. But her mom walks in the room and she's like, Kristen, stop. It's a Southern thing. I'm just gonna go ahead and let y'all know it's a Southern thing. When Mama says stop, attention, like, that's a Southern thing, period. When Mama says something, like, honey, you do it. Like, to this day, if my mama says something, like, for real, for real. So, everything turns completely around when her mama comes in there and says, Kristen, stop. So at this point I'm thinking, okay, this is something that Kristen is known for, okay, which is gross. But waiting in my head, do I tell John what just went on in the bedroom? And we instantly, like, John's already got to work. He's already got a bridesmaid, like, almost done. So we get started, and the deal is that I was going to put all of my attention on the mother of the bride, the mother of the bride, the mother of the groom, and the bride. So at this point, I'm doing the mother of the bride, and the bride had, like, walked off somewhere. I'm not exactly sure where she went, but let's name the mother of the bride Cheryl. So Cheryl is like, don't mind Kristen, she attention to her. And I'm just like nodding my head like, and at this point, like, me and John are set up side by side. So at this point, John is listening in and he's like, looking at me like, what? And I'm like shaking my head like nothing. But the thing about me, and the thing about, I would say 95% of Southern women, is when something's wrong with us, it's all over our face. It's written in red, honey, on our face. So, and I'm really bad about it. Like, my sister always says, my sister Samantha, she's always like, you tell 1,000 words in your face. Like, I'm known for making, like, faces and everything. So I'm standing there, like, telling myself in the head, like, don't make no faces. Just play it cool. Just play it cool. Just finish this, get your money, and get out of there. So we get through it all. I get to the bride. The bride literally sits in my chair like this. The whole time. I shit you not. And of course, John's standing there like, what the hell's wrong with her? She did it the whole time, you guys. So we go, you know, we're on our way to Gatlinburg, and they start drinking champagne. Now, this is where things take a left turn, okay? So we're in the limo, and so John kind of nudges my arm, okay? And I look up, I'm just kind of like resting like this, just kind of like looking down, like, I don't know, just zoned out or something. And John like nudges my arm, and I look over at him, and he's like, and I look over, and the bride is literally looking at John like this. And I'm just thinking, like, why are you acting like this? Like, what is he doing to you? He's literally sitting here. He blew it away with your bridesmaids. Like, your bridesmaids look bomb. Your junior bridesmaid looks bomb. Your flower girl looks bomb. Like, what are you doing? So the more that she looks at him, the more agitated that I am getting. And you've got to remember, I didn't give you a time frame, but I was younger at the time. This is a dark time in my life. And so I just start looking at her like that. And I know I did, because I'm bad about, you know, get me to that point. Like, I am as kind as the day is long as you treat me with respect and like a human. But when you're treating my colleague, someone who's come out of his way to help me, not only that, but he done a killer job on your bridesmaids and all of your bridal party's makeup. That's why, even at the end of this, I haven't finished this story yet, but even till the end, she couldn't say nothing bad about him other than her just sick self. Like, it was just her own sick-headed thoughts, okay? So we get there, we get to the place, and John is like, what is going on? Why was she looking at me like that? And I was like, okay, I'm going to tell you this. And I was like, if this makes you feel uncomfortable and you want to leave, we will get our stuff and I will pay myself to have someone or a taxi come get us and take us home. Or an Uber to come get us. So he's like, what? She's homophobic? And I just remember like looking at him and feeling so sad. Like just feeling so crushed. And I'm like, when you asked like why we were in the room, like she was like asking like why John, like why there was a guy here. And I was like, well, he's one of the best makeup artists like in the area. Like he's offered to like on his own time come out here. Like you should be paying a lot of money to have him out here doing makeup. And of course, John being John, he's like, girl, I'm used to it. Like he's older, okay? But he's fabulous. But he's like, girl, don't worry about it. And as long as I've been around, honey, I'm used to it. And I'm like, I don't care. That shit don't fly with me. And it's bothered me all day. And he just laughs, whatever. Time goes on. We do touch-ups, whatever. The problem's going to come at the end of the night. So just keep in mind that little bitty things happened all throughout the night. Like for instance, when she first spoke to me, there was going to be a table all the way in the back where the people who did hair, makeup, photographer, all of that were going to be sitting during the dinner. Well, after John had become known, because I know that's what it is, because she messaged me almost every day with change this and change that and changes here and changes here and changes there. She never mentioned nothing about there being a different table until John came with me. So when we go to the reception, she's like, oh, you guys are going to be sitting in that room over there. So in this, it was like a barn, okay? And in this barn, there was a bunch of rooms or whatever, because it was set up to do a reception, but there was also rooms to get ready and stuff for weddings, of course. So in this, guys, I swear on this, okay? In this little bitty room, this had to be the smallest room in there. I promise you, like the size of a foyer. She set up a little bitty table and 2 chairs for me and John to sit. And I shit you guys not, this really and truly happened. So at this point, I'm just ready to go. I'm like, thank God that it's the reception. I had already told her that I wasn't staying for the full reception. I had already scheduled for us to have someone come get us at this point. So at this point, we're going to, she didn't have a wedding plan or anything. Like her mom had like helped her do all of this. And so her mom was like, she had already told me, which her mom was so cool. Like, shout out to you. If you ever come by this, like you're a real one. But her mom told us like, you know, whenever you all are ready to go, just like come find me or whatever. And I'll go ahead and give you all the money. And I'm like, okay, sweet. So when I seen the broom closet that we were about to eat in, I was done. Like John is just such a like a good-hearted, like pure-hearted, like, and it's so sad that he's, you know, in his lifetime, he's gotten adjusted to this type of thing. And John, I know you're watching this, and I love you so much. And regardless of what anybody ever says or does or has done or has said to you, I freaking love you, and you are so loved. Just remember that. But I'm going to finish the story. So we go to the mom. Well, I go to the mom. John didn't like interrupt anything. He told me later, he said, I knew that it was making the bride uncomfortable and I didn't want her to be uncomfortable. So I kind of just stayed back. And so I go up to the bride. Well, no, I go to the bride first and I said, hi, Kristen, do you need anything else touched up? I'm about to go. And she said, if you could just touch up my lips for the end of the night, because we're going to run through sparklers. She was like, we're going to run through sparklers and I'm going to be photographed, whatever. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm like, well, where do you want me to touch up your lips? And she was like, oh, we can go to the bathroom. And there were 2 girls in there that she obviously knew it was her wedding. And she was like, hey, can we have a minute? And I speak up and I'm like, oh, it's fine. Like, I can do your lips like right here. It's not a big deal. She was like, no, I need a minute. And I'm like, okay. So we're standing there or whatever, and she was like, I really wish you would have let me know that you were bringing a gay man to help you. And I looked her straight in the eye, and I said, nobody. I said, so you're telling me that did you ask my sexuality? Did you ask what sexual preference I am? No, you didn't. So I'm not going to go out of my way and let you know that my colleague and the person who has busted their ass today to help, I'm not going to let you know their sexual preference, because it doesn't matter. All that matters is that he's talented and that your bridal party looks great. And I'm like, I will fix your lips, but I will have no more of this homophobic shit. And that's exactly my exact words. I'd had enough. I was done. And so I fixed her lips. I went out to her mom. At this point, John said that it was written all over my face. He was like, I knew something had happened in that bathroom. He said, because girl, when you walked out, you looked madder than the devil. He said, you look like Scarlett O'Hara. And if you're from the South, you already know. So, I go up to the mom and I'm like, hey, we're ready to go. Well, at this point, her mom is like looking to the side of me. So I pretty much already figured that Kristen's walking up behind me. And so Kristen comes up and she said, you hold their pay. You hold their pay. You're not going to believe what she just said to me in the bathroom. And her mom's like, Kristen, stop. They did their job. Stop and go enjoy your wedding. And I hear her walk off or whatever. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I couldn't take any more. This man is like a really good friend of mine. And I'm just not going to take that. I'm just not going to take it. I've been taking it all day, and I do apologize. You know, we were in a private bathroom area. Like, there was nobody in there because she kicked the people that were in there out so that we could have this talk. But I'm sorry, like, she's made him feel, I know she's made him feel uncomfortable all day. He will never admit that, and John still to this day. But she made him feel uncomfortable. And she said, I'm so sorry. And she gave us a tip or whatever, and our ride was there, and I was like, okay, well, we're leaving. The story doesn't end there, folks. So we go home, time marches on, whatever. And I would say maybe a month, maybe. And she messages me and she says, hey, my wedding pictures are out, and I wanted to send you some. You guys, in the getting ready pictures, oh, and they filmed like parts of the day leading up to her wedding, and of course they recorded the wedding. But you know what I'm talking about, like wedding videos or whatever, you know how it goes. Well, she had genuinely asked this photographer, which was a friend of mine, remember that, and the videographer, which was her husband, he videoed the wedding. I noticed John was in none of them. So I call her and I'm like, let me ask you this. I was like, did they ask you to cut John out of the video? And she was out of the video and pictures. And she was like, Morgan, I feel so terrible. But yeah, she did. She called and asked me to do that. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. And so she messaged me and asked, can I tag you in the pictures? And I said, hell no. I said, I'm disgusted and grossed out with myself that I even did your wedding. The way that you treated my friend and like deliberately cutting him out. Like, not that it matters that we're in the pictures or whatever, but I mean, you had me in the pictures. You had everybody else in the picture. Why does it matter if he's in a picture? If it weren't for him, you know, I wouldn't have done that good of a job on a bridesmaid back then, and I'm just here to be honest. Only way I know to be honest. So I let her have it because I'd wanted to do it for the longest time. He ended up responding, and she was like, you never told me it was going to be a man. And I said, yes, I did. I said, and you basically at the end of the conversation came back and said, let her, or you said her instead of he. And I just thought it was a mistake or whatever. I didn't think it mattered because it should not matter whether it's a he or a she or straight or gay. It should not matter. It shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter what they identify as. You don't know what I identify as. You might assume, but you don't know. It shouldn't matter. I'm there to do your makeup. He's there to do makeup. That's all there, cut and dry. I was like, you're disrespectful. And I was like, please never, ever, ever ask me to do anything for you again because I will decline. And she was like, well, that's your decision, whatever. Keep that in mind. I've never had a problem. I've never had a problem with working with him since then. I don't use her pictures in my portfolio either, just because why? Okay, ooh. But yeah, that is the story of my worst client ever. It was completely disgusting. Breaks my heart that there's people out there who act and behave that way. And unfortunately, that was at a time, like I said, where I was young and I was still new and I really didn't know the ropes. Hope you guys enjoyed this story time. And now for my shout out. Okay guys, so for this week's small YouTuber video shout out is going to go to Lilac Glow. She has been so cool and just like sharing and shout outing other pages here on YouTube. I love her energy. I love her vibe. She's just so sweet. So I am going to have a link down in the description box down below, a link to her channel, and I really invite you all to go and subscribe and show her some love. Leave her some lipstick emojis, let her know that you came from the Morgan Beauty gang. And yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you haven't already, please do make sure that you do subscribe to my channel. Turn your notifications on so that you can be notified every single time that I do upload. And I will have also all of my social medias linked down in the description box as well, but the top link will be to Lilac Glow's channel. Lilac Glow, thank you so much for supporting me. I support you. This is your shout out in this video. So yeah guys, I thank you all again so much for watching this video. I hope it entertained you. And for all of you up and coming makeup artists, I hope it, taught you all a thing or two about what to do and what not to do. Anyways guys, I love you all so much. Thank you all for hanging out with me today. And until next time,